For those of you that don't know who Paige Craig is, he's the founder and partner at Arena Ventures. Real experienced investor, angel investor, invested in well over 100 companies, all names, many of names which you know, Lyft, AngelList, Wish, Twitter, QuizUp, and 110 more. And I once, actually I think it was last year or the year before, I saw you sit on a panel with wet board shorts like you just came out of the ocean. Which is awesome.
Probably.
That's Silicon Beach. There's Paige Craig.
Is this thing on? Yeah, solid. Cool. So, yeah, thanks to Brian there. I think what's interesting is I was supposed to talk about crowdfunding. He's talking about raising a fund. We decided to really, really punish ourselves and do both at the same time. So I do run a fund now, and we also do equity crowdfunding. And that's a very unusual position to be in. But I don't want to go market our fund, but if you are interested in it, we have a committed capital fund. And that's incredibly hard. And anyone that raises a fund, can be a very fucking painful process. But we're a little bit unique because we're a new fund. We were able to blend equity crowdfunding with the VC. Does that matter to you as a founder? Absolutely not. Like, it's fucking money. Right? You want to have great investors who are going to help you out, and you need money to fund your business. Whether it comes from equity crowdfunding or a VC or your brother or dad if they're great advisors, like, you just need great people that got your back, and you need money to grow your business. So I'm not sure that I can add a lot of value to equity crowdfunding because I don't think a lot of you are going to be syndicate leads. How many people in here are angel investors right now? Okay, do you guys want to learn how to lead AngelList syndicates? Or would you like to learn more about how to basically find great deals, develop founders? Raise your hand if you want to learn about syndicates. Okay, so we're not going to talk about that shit. Okay, so I'll talk more about the art of angel investing, which was the original topic. That's a lot more near and dear to my heart. And I'll tell you on crowdfunding, it's simple. There's a site called AngelList. There's also a site called Crowdfunder, which is here in LA. They're also awesome people. And you can go find a dude or a gal that used to be an angel, and now instead of writing a 10, 20, 50, 100K check, she or he can now do $500,000, 750. That's about it. Pretty simple. If you're the syndicate, it's a much harder, but we'll skip that shit. So I'm an angel investor originally and now running a fund. What does that mean? Really, that means I like to work at the riskiest stage of investing. I like to invest when there's literally one, maybe two founders, and they have an idea, and they've taken that little idea and they've built this thing called an MVP, if they even know what an MVP is. I invest in founders who don't even know what MVP means. I funded a company a year and a half ago called Laurel and Wolf. The founder at the time thought MVP was a baseball term. But this is great. Like, I don't want founders who are polished like YC. YC is one of the worst things in the world to happen. Now, it's great for Sam, it's great for Paul. But YC is literally the worst thing in my mind because I don't want polished, like, I don't even want to see your deck. If anyone's ever tried to pitch me, like, I don't want to see your pretty product, I don't want to see your deck. It means nothing to me. Because I have this lens that is about people. And so a product to me is simply an artifact. It's what you created. But why look at your product when I can talk to you and understand what was the drive, what was the passion? You know, imagine you're an archaeologist. You're looking at, I don't know, some fucking artifact, a tool, a weapon. You start to wonder, why does that weapon have two blades on it? Why does it have why is there a poleaxe? Now, these products are beautiful, but the part I get to is I like to understand the people behind the products. There's no product in the world that ever just came into existence. There was some lady out there who thought it up. There's some dude who thought it up and made it happen. The other reason I focus on people is that if you look at a company through its whole life cycle, the first day of your business, let's imagine that your company is going to be successful. 5, 10 years from now, you become a unicorn, a decacorn, or some other shitcorn, but you become a big, big company. In your first day of business, the biggest risk, like, I have no idea how big your market is, and neither do you. So if you tell me how big your market is, we both know you're lying, or we're both, there's no way to know. What's your product going to be? I have no idea. I funded a company ages ago called Context Logic. That company is now called Wish.com. It's probably the third biggest e-com platform in the world. It's somewhere between $5 to $10 billion now. That company in its earliest days was literally a screen terminal of petabyte data manipulation so that people could understand intent better. there was no product. But there's an amazing dude, Peter, who's just a brilliant, driven man. And this guy had told Facebook and Google to go fuck themselves. They're trying to buy his team. This guy did not talk about how he did not have an exit strategy. This guy did not have a beautiful product, but he had a drive and an intellect and a team that impressed me. So I wrote him his first check, actually a physical Navy Federal Credit Union check, and brought in some amazing people to help him. So I love investing in people. And I'm going to go through 5 questions that I go through as an angel. Hopefully this will help you if you're a founder understand at least my perspective, but I'll warn you that the way I think is very different from every other investor, and that's a good thing. We don't want, every investor should think differently. One of the biggest weaknesses out there if you are an investor is to listen to other investors. You should each have your own thesis, you should each have your own beliefs and come to your own conviction and leave this FOMO, this fear of missing out and what's hot behind, and just focus on what do you believe in, who do you want to work with. So I'll go through these 5 questions. Hopefully it equips you with some structure, because you can apply these questions and they'll each apply to you very differently. So the first thing I ask myself, question number 1 is, would I start a company with you? Not would I run your company, but would I join you and follow you? And this is a very important question. It's also hard. If you're an investor out there who's been a founder, it's hard to answer this question honestly, because you're going to step into this meeting and think, wow, this girl's really talented. I could run her company. Or this dude has a really good product. I could fix all this shit that I see wrong with him. But that's not your job as an investor. 99.999, 6 sigma percent of this shit comes down to the founder. Our job as investors is not to run their company. Hopefully we can use our advice and our experience to help them out. But when you ask this question about would I join this company, for me that means, would I follow this person? Do I feel like I'm going to learn from them? Do they inspire me? Do I think they're the kind of person I want to build a company with? Now, each of you may answer that question differently. I have different values and opinions than you do. But that's the first thing I get to is, would I join that company? The second thing for me is, do I love what you're doing? Once again, who knows? We all love different things. I love consumer. I love to put myself in the mind of a consumer and think, is this service amazing? Do I genuinely want it? Is this a beautiful, amazing experience that's going to delight me? I like old, boring industries that are being changed, like towing. This company, Honk, has changed how people get towing and roadside assistance. Probably boring to some people, but I like taking old brick and mortar companies and solving these inefficiencies and delivering a great consumer experience. So question number 2 comes down to, am I passionate and interested in what this founder is building? Now the reality is many of you may have pitched me or may pitch me, and I might say, that doesn't interest me. And that might not make sense. Like, shouldn't I just invest because it's going to make money? No. Because I want to be able to go to bed at night thinking about your business. I want to go to a conference and make a connection between another investor and your business. I want to think about your product, your service, your challenges. And if I don't actually give a shit and am passionate about what you're solving, you're not going to be top of mind for me. So I learned a long time ago to focus on, do I genuinely care about what you're doing? Does it stimulate me intellectually? Does it get my creative juices going when I imagine what we're going to do over the next 5-8 years together? So third thing, will I add value? This is harder if you're a new investor. You may not have a lot to add to a founder, but you probably at least have a network. And you probably have some domain expertise. And as you go through investing, you'll get better and better, and hopefully you'll start to specialize. As I've invested over 8 years now, I start to focus on things I actually do well at. I'm pretty good with marketplaces. I have a good sense for mobile products, and those things I do very poorly, but I have a few things I do okay. So pick something that you're going to add value to. Fourth thing, if I invest in this founder, will they have a major impact? And this goes both to a combination of scale. I don't want to invest in you if, not just lifestyle business, but if I don't see a level of ambition and a level of drive that impresses me, I just don't want to work with you. I'm probably not going to tell this to your face. It's a little bit insulting, but I meet a lot of people that just have low ambition, and there's nothing wrong with that. Totally cool, just don't pitch me, please. I need big, ambitious people. Time is too scarce to spend on small ideas. But don't confuse us with people who are very focused. there are lots of people out here with huge ambitions, but they start very small, and that's probably the best way to go. And it's a separate topic, a theory I have called think big and execute small. But I need big thinkers who want to go dominate their industry. It also comes into sort of a, call it like moral, I don't even know it's moral, but maybe ethics, but there's certain things in life I want to support and certain things I don't want to support. I had a company pitch me about a year and a half ago on a mobile app to change the lottery. Brilliant idea, gamification, buy lottery tickets on an app. I'll tell you, personally, I thought the founder was great. The business model was amazing. I don't agree with the lottery. I think it taxes the poor, so I'm just out of that kind of deal. And there's nothing wrong with the business at all. But I think we need to ask ourselves when we invest, if that founder is successful, do we want to stand behind what they're doing? Now, the fifth question, and I'm very poor at this, most of us will be, is the timing right? Even though I invest in people, there's one thing none of us can beat unless we had infinite time, and that's timing. If you look at a deal and you realize that this founder is trying to fight a social change, a technological change, if they've misread where the world's going, almost nothing they do can fix that unless they do a complete pivot. So that's the last question I ask. It's hard. We're usually wrong about it. And I'll explain how I think about this whole framework. My questions that deal with you personally, your drive, your talent, your ambition, what you're doing, that's more important to me than these things about market size, business model, timing, because I think great people can overcome all the other risks in their business. Unless I'm very certain that your business model is wrong, or unless I'm very certain that there's a certain trend that you can't beat. I will overwhelmingly bet on the person over all the other quantified shit that's out there. So I try to focus on people. The sad thing is I'm generally wrong, but when I'm occasionally right, we can change the world together. So those are the 5 questions I think about as an investor. Hopefully as a founder, that's also a way for you to think about how to deal with an investor and convey who you are and what you're doing. But that's a consistent framework I've used now over several years of investing. So with that, I will turn it to questions.
You said you invest in people. What specifically do you look for? What attributes or traits do you look for in people?
Yeah, I have, it's a long list on my phone actually. There's about 30 characteristics I look for. I'm not gonna name them all, but I'll talk about a couple things. So I'll go back to this think big, execute small. 2 things I look for is someone who has a huge vision. They can communicate that vision. And maybe that doesn't sound important, but when I think about the role of a founder, you have to build a team. You have to convince investors to give you their money, their time, the meeting. You have to convince the press to pay attention to you. You have to get partners who think you're a piece of shit to give you a meeting, to sell your first deal, to expose their API, to give you access to their ad platform. But if you're armed with a vision and you can communicate it effectively, it's a powerful weapon. It's something you can do with no money. We can all have vision without dollars. So that's important. But then you have to follow it up by executing small. And that means not making the mistake of building too much. I see too many founders have 3 products they want to build, 12 features they want to do, 3 markets they want to launch in. But I much prefer the founder who has a massive vision, but gets out of strategic mode and thinks, I'm very focused, I'm going to do one thing really well. I've got 20 fucking customers who love my product, not 1,000 people who kind of like it. So that's one common thing I look for in a founder.
We've got a question from more of the fund, the committed fund versus the crowdfunding side of things. How do you handle the asymmetry in fees and kind of relationships with your LPs in the committed fund versus the investors in the AngelList syndicate?
So we thought about this last year. So the only way in my mind to run both an equity crowdfunding and a fund together at the same time without having a conflict of interest, because it's a good question. I could have a fund where I'm getting paid management fees and carry, typical 2 and 20. And then I have an AngelList syndicate where, not me personally, but the fund controls it, and we're getting 0 and 20 because there's no management fees on AngelList. So in that world, if I had variable betting, I could take perhaps my shittier deals that I think are more risky, and push them to these so-called retail investors on AngelList. And as that deal develops, I could then put more money in from the fund, right? Or if it's a really great sweetheart deal, my buddy's hooking me up with the next, Snapchat, Insta, whatever, we put a bunch of money in from the fund and we fuck over our syndicate. So we have a very simple structure. We do fixed betting. We always write the same size check at every stage in the early days. From all the way through A is a fixed check size. So the fund can't bet less or more. It has to do the same amount every time. So we either do it or we don't. It's very binary. But we still get incentivized to run an AngelList syndicate. So we have an incentive to make that bet as large as possible. So whether we bet 500 or we bet 1.5, it's really up to the founder how much money they want to take from us and how much we think they should take. A fixed bet comes from our fund, and the remaining delta all comes from the syndicate. And there's never a decision like, is this a good deal, is it a bad deal? There's no signaling. That's the decision we came to last year. Yep. Thank you for your questions.
Hey, got one more.
Hi, I have a startup, and what I'm dealing with right now is I'm trying to go and speak to investors, and I'm being told that it's really about your team and that a lot of investors are really interested in your team. But what if it's the chicken before the egg situation where we're bootstrapped, so we don't really have the funds to really pay that kind of person that has all that experience? How do I go about this chicken before the egg issue?
And are you a solo founder or do you have a co-founder?
I'm a solo founder.
Okay. And can you build the product that you want?
I built it.
You built it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
launched. It's
So
cash flow positive.
So what's the team
Anybody?
issue? So what's the team issue? Are they asking for a business co-founder, a
Well,
product
yeah, I'm
co-founder?
being told that, as a founder, I might not fit the mold that people are looking for because my background is I'm a dog walker turned app developer. So I don't look very impressive, although I can kick ass, I swear. But I don't have that tech, and I do have a good technical team. But people are like, well, who on your team has done it before? Who's exited previously? Who's really?
Well, I think so. If you're dealing with investors who are asking, have you had success before?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said before, we all have different ways that we think about funding people. Some investors want to see past success, and they want to invest in serial founders. Some people want to take a risk on a new founder. And I think some of my biggest wins have come from brand new founders. But I'll tell you this. Important characteristic of your journey through getting funded is that you have to be willing to take a shitload of no's. And if you can survive that, there's eventually a yes out there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the biggest reasons companies don't get started is someone like you and most founders hear a lot of no's early on, and you can't let that stop you.
Hell no.
So what I'm saying is don't think that no is characteristic of every investor. Every fund, every investor, every angel, everyone has a different model that they operate on. If you actually believe in your company, you just have to keep pitching. But don't do the stupid thing. Don't keep pitching the same people over and over. If they want to see past success, then move on to someone who doesn't think that way. So don't go back to the same investors over and over. Create some competition, go to multiple investors. Your investor path is sort of like a sales funnel. You got to think about this pipeline. And I usually tell all my founders, we create a spreadsheet of all the people we're going to talk to. We go on AngelList. I dump a bunch of names. You meet people. If people are somewhat interested, then you keep talking to them. If they're cold and completely non-responsive, you drop them. If they're somewhere in the middle, you keep them alive, but you don't talk to them again until you get someone who's interested. But the point of this is keep trying. If you can build it and you believe in it, then keep doing it.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Nelly Presswood, and I'm actually an old school music industry person. And I had an epiphany in 2012, and I've been working on this project for quite some time now. And I It's a clothing line that's an interactive clothing line. It's a method of teaching toddlers to preschoolers, their alphabets, numbers, and so on and so forth. But what my real purpose is because I am old school. I'm just tired of seeing what's happening in the world right now. And I want to educate kids. I've worked on Skid Row for 20 years of my life. I'm involved all the time. I started my career in activism with Jesse Jackson.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes, the question is, how is it that I could take this patent line of clothing and make it from my samples to each...
I'll tell you, I would have no idea. There's a lot of things I don't know, and your question falls into a big void. I do I can tell you software. I can talk to you about
software.
Asymmetric warfare and intelligence.
Okay, sorry about
And that's
Forgive
about it.
me.
Okay, so like you're in an area I just don't know anything about. I hate to give bad advice.
But what about angel investment?
We all there might be someone out there. I'm saying we kind of specialize, so I focus on software.
Okay.
What you're talking about, there's probably a ton of people in LA who do it. I just don't know, honestly.
One more.
So in the last few years, other than Airbnb, what other companies have you regretted not investing in? And what have you learned from those not investments that maybe have done well?
Not investing. I don't know. I don't have many regrets in life, Asher. Trying to think of a company that I didn't invest in. What? Yeah. No. Trying to think of who I could have invested in that I didn't. Don't have a good answer for you, man. I kind of throw regrets out the window and focus on what I'm doing. My last question. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.